All right, let's talk about the book. Seems like a pretty simple object, right? Paper, ink, a story. But what if that book could actually talk back to you? And I don't just mean reading words out loud. I mean, what if it could have a real conversation? We are right on the edge of a huge leap in technology that could completely change what we even think a book is. So let's dive in and see what that future might look like. And yeah, I really want to stress this point. I'm not talking about an audiobook. We've had those for years. I mean, what if you could have a real conversation with the book itself? What if you could ask it questions, maybe even challenge its ideas, and then hear it explain itself in its own voice? Okay, so this is the real game changer right here. A traditional audiobook, it just reads words. It's a totally passive experience. You just sit there and listen. But the future we're talking about is a book that actually explains ideas. It doesn't just narrate, it interprets, it clarifies, and it engages with you. That's the leap. So how in the world does a book go from a bunch of static pages to a dynamic conversational partner? Well, the key is giving it a way to think. And the secret ingredient, the brain of this whole new kind of book, is artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning. That's the stuff that allows a book to go way beyond just reciting text and actually begin to think and to have that conversation with you. So when you get down to it, the whole process is actually pretty straightforward. It all breaks down into 4 main steps. First, you ask a question. Then, the AI doesn't just look for keywords. It uses what's called natural language processing to figure out what you're really asking, the nuance behind it. Next, it scans the entire book for relevant ideas, not just a single sentence. And finally, it pulls all of that together to give you a genuinely helpful conversational response. For example, just imagine asking the book, hey, what does the author actually mean by the walls of the mind? An old school audiobook would just read the line back to you. Kind of useless, right? But an AI book can actually interpret the metaphor for you, explaining the deeper meaning. I mean, that's the incredible difference between just reading words and real understanding. And the potential here is just astounding. Think about it. An AI companion could summarize a really dense chapter for you, or connect themes across the whole story that you might have missed. And this is huge. It could adapt its explanations for anyone, from a little kid to a physics professor. It could even link an idea in this book to a concept in a completely different one, creating this incredible living web of knowledge. But let's push this even further. What if we could go beyond just talking to the book? What if we could actually see its world and maybe even step right inside of it? This is where things get really wild with augmented and virtual reality. The easiest way to think about it is this. With augmented reality, or AR, the book's world literally comes out of the page and into your room. But with virtual reality, or VR, you get to step inside the book. With AR, you could be reading a history book and bam, you see dinosaurs walking across your desk. Or a science textbook could make a 3D model of an atom just spin right there above the page. You could even watch characters from a novel act out a really important scene right there in your living room. And then VR just takes this immersion to a completely different level. You're not just watching anymore, you're actually there. You could walk through the crowded streets of ancient Rome, stand right at the foot of the Great Pyramids in Egypt, or just float through our solar system. It completely transforms learning from something you do on a flat page into a full-on sensory experience. Okay, so this all sounds absolutely incredible, but let's get real for a second. What kind of power does it actually take to run one of these living books? It's time to take a look at the engine under the hood. So first up, you've got the storage problem. With all the 3D models, all the audio files, the AI programming, a single one of these interactive books could take up anywhere from 2 to 10 gigabytes of space. That's about the size of a modern video game, all for just one book. And of course, powering that whole experience means you'd probably get about 6 to 10 hours of use before you need to recharge. That's pretty similar to a modern tablet or laptop, so yeah, you'd be charging your book just like any other device you own. So where's all that power going? Well, the main culprits are the AI processing chip, the part that's doing all the thinking, and of course, the high-resolution AR or VR display that's creating those immersive worlds. Then you add in a constant connection to the cloud for more processing, and you've got a seriously power-hungry device on your hands. When you boil it all down, a smart book is really a sophisticated piece of hardware. It needs an AI chip to be its brain, speakers for its voice, a microphone to act as its ears, and a display for its face. It's a complete,
thinking device that's also plugged into a much larger network.
So we've covered the tech, the experience, the hardware, the whole shebang. But this brings up a much deeper, more important question about what a book really is. Let's explore what lies beyond just the words on the page. I mean, think about it. We've spent this whole time talking about books as these incredible containers for data and interactive information. But I want you to think about your own favorite books. Are they really just information to you? Or are they something more? This quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of it. Think about a book that was given to you by someone you love, or one you read during a really important time in your life. It has a value that you just can't measure in money. Some people call this heart value. And that brings up this fascinating tension, doesn't it? On one hand, you have data value, all the facts and the amazing AI-generated explanations we've been talking about. But on the other, you have heart value, the memories, the personal stories, the human connection that's tied to an object. Now, an AI book is a master of the first one, for sure, but could it ever capture the second? Or, and this is an interesting thought, could it maybe even enhance it by saving your notes, your reactions, or even the voice of a loved one reading a passage to you? So as our books start to become these intelligent companions, the really big question is this. While we gain this entire universe of data, how do we make sure we protect the human stories they contain? In a future full of living books, what are the stories that the objects in your life will tell? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.